If this is your first time here, this is the Rushfield Lunch. I am Richard Rushfield, columnist for The Ankler, and every week I have lunch with one of my favorite doers, thinkers, gallivanters, maybe even a ne'er-do-well from time to time if we can get one. It might be a little early for the ne'er-do-wells, so they're not usually out of bed by lunchtime, uh, but this week we are thrilled to have someone who is all of those things: a doer, a thinker, a gallivanter, even, and a ne'er-do-well has written a really fascinating, important book. She's also a contributor to The Atlantic, where she has members of the national security team sending her war plans and nuclear codes every hour there, like all of her colleagues. And she's written a wonderful and really exciting new book entitled "Me But Better."
Yep.
This is her second book. There it is. You can see it. I was going to hold up mine, but mine is on the Kindle, so yeah, I couldn't hold it up properly. But it's a fantastic book about she. It started as an article for the Atlantic and then enlarged, and she decided to change herself and improve herself. And we're going to be talking about that. Whether you can really change your personality, is personality a lie? All sorts of other fascinating questions, and some of her other work. She has written a very controversial with me, just today, about how the comedians' secret for how they stay married so long. And I think there is a real reason for that she might have missed in her reporting there. We're going to get to that too. Welcome, Olga Khazan.
Hi, thanks so much for having me.
Thank you so much for lunching with us today. Where do we find you? Are you where
I'm in
are
Fairfax, Virginia. Beautiful Fairfax.
in you know, where your home office where you do your work for the do you go to the Atlantic office at all anymore?
I don't really go to the Atlantic, no. This is where I work mostly.
Does anyone go to the Atlantic office, or is it completely remote at this point?
Um, People do go, people who live closer to DC, and then like the managers all go. Yeah.
The well, I hope they'll see you soon for their sake. We're delighted to see you. Hey, since this is showbiz, one of the I try to get acquainted with our guests by asking them the only thing that we understand. What are you watching these days? Tell us about that.
I'm watching White Lotus, like
Yeah,
everyone else. Yeah.
like everyone else, like me too. It was but I didn't see this week's yet, so don't spoil. But are you enjoying this season?
I liked past seasons better. This one took a while to like take for me, but I love the storyline between the three female friends. I'm really glad they had a friends storyline, and I'm glad that they picked the specific awkwardness of a three-way girls trip.
The I wish I could share it. I think I know I know the creator Mike quite a bit, and I think I know a specific trip that is based on. And unfortunately, I can't share it online. I'll tease you all with that, but I'll just say it involved Madonna in the real life version. But I'll tell you, anyone on this can call me, and I'll tell you it privately. All that. So tell me. So let's get to your book now. We have a quorum of lunchers here. How did you come to decide to first of all that you needed to be changed? And should add, by the way, I have known Olga since she was a student journalist for at USC. I met her when she was. Were you writing about American Idol?
No,
You
you were writing about
I
American
was
Idol.
writing about American Idol. So how did you come into my?
I was at it was a convention of reality show stars that
Yes.
I had to cover for an unpaid website that had been created by a guy who was like, whatever. He did something bad later. I don't want to get anyone in legal trouble on this chat, but yeah, it was like a disbanded quickly after my story published about the convention.
Perfect, and that's where I met. So I've known you for quite a while, and it never occurred to me that I never said in that time, you know what, Olga is great, but she really needs to be better. I'd really like to trade her in for a better version of Olga, but that's what you said about yourself, and it led you to not only to attempt to change yourself, but to write a book about that process. So tell us about that journey.
Yeah, so I mean, this journey starts like a lot of writers' journeys start, which is with a good old fashioned nervous breakdown.
Mhm.
I
I
kind of
every column I write, pretty much every paragraph I write starts with an old nervous breakdown. I would say that
yeah,
is
it's
intrinsic to the writing process.
it's
But
a time honored tradition. I kind of noticed that I had a pretty good life. I have a partner who I've been with since you knew me in
yeah,
LA, and I have a house and I have an interesting job, and I was just not happy. Like little things would build up and really get to me. I would get really easily kind of overwhelmed by minor frustrations. And I also felt like I was really socially isolated. Even before COVID, I just wasn't getting out much, wasn't talking to folks much, wasn't interacting much with other people. And I wanted to change all that. I wanted to kind of shake up my life a little, appreciate what I had and honestly make more friends.
you talk about a specific in the book. You talk about a specific sort of bottom that you had with your old self on a you were on a trip and. Tell us about that. You were a
Yeah, so
beautiful,
this is kind of how you know that like it wasn't my life that was bad, it was my reaction to my life. So I was on a trip in Miami in December, which is like a glorious
a
heaven.
lovely place to be.
Yeah, yeah, like it's awesome. There literally nothing to complain about. 70 degrees. Um, uh, and my work wanted to get photos taken of me, like professional photos. And again, very flattering. Like, who doesn't love having photos taken of themselves? Me, it turns out. So I got a haircut right before this photo session, and the haircut looked awful. I get to the photo studio, and the photographer is like, "Do you want to do something about your hair?" And I was
And
like, "I did. I paid to have this done to my hair." He takes photos of me. I think they look really bad. I drive on. I get stuck in traffic. Then I get to the grocery store. As I'm leaving the grocery store, this thing happens where my shopping cart locks because it thinks I'm trying to steal the shopping cart. And I have to drag the shopping cart across the parking lot to get my stuff in the car.
you
And
weren't trying to steal the shopping cart, just to be
I was
clear.
not. I was just trying to get my groceries to the car, to the
Okay.
Prius. And so I get home, I take all my stuff upstairs, and I just melt down. I'm crying, I'm like drinking wine, I'm yelling to my then boyfriend, now husband, about how I hate everyone. And even kind of as I was doing it, I was like, this is silly. I don't need to be like this. I could just let stuff like this roll off me a little bit better.
So what was your first so you describe one of the things I've always been aware of about you is that when you have a feeling or an urge, you do the research on it very exhaustively and very immediately, and you found you identified the elements of personality that that is kind of the five elements. What
Yeah,
spell
so
those out.
there's really five traits that make up personality: openness to experiences, conscientiousness, extroversion, agreeableness, and neuroticism. The situation I was describing was really caused by a high level of the trait of neuroticism, which is sort of like depression and anxiety. So just like negative thinking, worry, negative thought spirals, that's neuroticism. And that's what I was really dealing with at
And
the
you
time.
took an online personality test, and it told you were in the bad zone on all five of these.
Yeah, so
So,
for neuroticism, I was higher than 94% of people. which is not good. And for extroversion, I think, extremely low. And then for agreeableness, I was like medium low kind of. And then extrovert or conscientiousness and openness, I was actually quite high.
Yeah. So I want to get into to breaking these down and everything, but um, so a first thought that I had in thinking about your journey and looking at these extroversion, neuroticism, openness to experienceness, agreeableness, and conscientiousness are all factors that it seemed to me like the internet was invented to destroy in anyone that uses it. That like that the internet is like a tool designed to undermine, extroversion certainly, to make people much more uh, neurotic. Openness to experience, like to make you never want to have another experience away from your screen again. Agreeableness, like, is probably, anathema on the internet. That's like the lowest grade. And conscientiousness. Well, if you don't do anything except stare at your screen, you don't to be that conscientious. So how much do you attribute these traits to your own issues and experience and biology and family and all that, and how much do you think, when you look at it, do you think like the internet exacerbated all these things in you?
Yeah, I mean, I think it was a combination. I have genetically, I'm predisposed to anxiety and depression. Both my parents are very anxious and quite depressed, honestly. But then I also I picked a job that anxiety is just part of it. It's like, will I get the story? Will I get this done on time? Will this all come together? And then, and then I spend a lot of time on the internet, like a lot of journalists, and it does reward kind of aggressive, snarky remarks, which is not agreeableness. It rewards staring at a screen for hours on end instead of talking to real people, even if you are a journalist. Yeah, and then you see like, oh, I'm so humbled and honored to have gotten this award. Every other post, and that is really hard for people who are anxious about their own status in the world. And so, yeah, I definitely think the internet exacerbated it, but I definitely had the kindling there to cause that fire.
Do you find that, since you published this, have you found have a lot of people come to you that have similar? I mean, I wonder if problems with the big five here are systemic in the internet generation, or how much you're feeling now that these are personal, or that your journey is the journey of your generation.
I've definitely heard from a lot of people that they have similar issues, especially with anxiety or social isolation, or people who are like, "Oh, we sound really similar," or like, "I'm trying something similar." But I wouldn't say that it's been broken down by generation. Like, I honestly wouldn't. I mean, Gen Z is more online than millennials, I would say. Like, I mean, there's like Gen Z TikTok stars who do a dance every day and make millions of dollars, and like I would, if I could do that, I would be doing that.
I,
So I,
I'm my plan is a year from now, as a result of these lunches, that I will just be making a fortune just telling people what moisturizer I use, and that's where I want
I
to
would
take it.
pay
But
to know that. I would.
yeah,
So yeah, I mean, I think like honestly, other generations are more online than I am. So I've heard from a lot of other people, but I wouldn't say it's been like broken down by generations.
well, let me give you an example of this, though, because here's one thing that was particular to you, that you hinted in the book. I don't know that you got into it totally, but you were a Twitter power user. I accuse. And yeah, will you admit to that?
Um, no, I mean, I probably at my peak tweeted like less than 10 times a day.
Really?
Yeah.
We had conversations about me urging you to tweet
You
to
wanted me to tweet even less, but
yeah.
I feel like I never tweeted that much. But now I
Okay.
hardly ever tweet.
you weren't a mega power user. You were a small p power user.
Sure.
So it's one thing that I have found that with the extroversion thing in particular, that people that are extreme that are very online, that are highly that people I've had the experience time and again since the internet started that I I get to know people from their Twitter personality or their social media personality where they are very out where they're irreverent and funny and they have all these great observations and they say all sorts of things, and then you meet them and it's like talking to a block of wood. Like they just like you if you ask them what time did you wake up this morning, they look like they want to like crawl into a hole and die. Like it's uh and so you were not a superpower user, but you were very Twitter.
I
Uh,
was on Twitter. Yeah, I look. I mean, that's kind of one of the things that sparked this is that I felt like I was using Twitter a lot in place of social interaction. Like I felt like, oh, I've sent 5 tweets today, and like people interacted with them, and like we all had a good time, and that was me socializing. And I think like I kind of realized that that wasn't really enough for me.
Interesting. So, but what do you think it is about these social? Is it so? Does social media draw in people who have a natural tendency to introversion and accentuate it, or does it create these phenomenon in people, or what how would you describe that correlation?
That's interesting. I do think that I have to say that I really don't use Twitter anymore, and I haven't really picked up a blue sky habit either. Like, I still tweet about like promotional stuff, but I really don't like.
I can attest you are much less now that you have a new personality. You are much less living online than you were.
Yeah, I really just I don't do it as much anymore. But I think what I liked about it is that if you are kind of verbal and you also are awkward around people, Twitter gives you a chance to like say what you're gonna say and edit it and like kind of really get it refined to like the perfect little thing and then put it out there and have people react really positively to it, which is kind of how you wish all your social interactions would go. Like you wish
Yeah.
that you always had said the perfect thing at the perfect moment and everyone like hearted you. And it can be very addictive to have that kind of feedback whenever you are kind of introverted or just awkward, to be honest.
It it is frustrating in life. I'm not a super online person, but I am frustrated in life that like there should be some way to like give me hearts for all the brilliant things I say just going about my life or day. Like I I'm not I'm not I'm not celebrated hour to hour for
Yeah.
my brilliance and the things I just I hopefully someone near me will write a biography of me that someday and include all that. But that is a and the ability to craft to perfectly craft what you're saying, that problem of thinking of the best rejoinder when you've walked away. It's all that the Irish say that writers are just failed talkers. So I think that is what it comes to for
Yeah.
all of us. That by the way, to our lunch friends here, please feel free to ask questions, dive in to Olga, to me, to both of us, comments, everything. This is your lunch too, even though it's my name on it. But we'd love to hear from you. So the what it, the thing the so the question of personality modification, um, you got me thinking about it. It's that the so if you had asked me even a couple weeks ago, can people's personality change? I would have said no, absolutely not. They are who they are, and you can pretend a little bit, or you can maybe you can cut out some habit, but you'll still be you. Even though I've gone through some big changes, I would say, in my life. But your book made me think about it. And on the negative side, like if someone spent 2 years in solitary confinement, they would certainly be changed for the negative, and they wouldn't just snap back quickly. for that. So I mean, we see people who are broken by some sort of experience. So on the negative side, we believe that, but somehow we don't believe that people can change for the better or improve or anything. So what made you think it was possible?
I mean, I feel like I myself have changed over the years. And I also have noticed other people changing over the years. I mean, anyone who's like, if you look at I mean, not to bring social media back into it, but if you look, I don't know, do you ever get those like Facebook memories and it's like 15 years ago you said this
Yeah,
dumb thing and it's like, what was I thinking? So, you're clearly different from that person. Or like if you've ever hung out with someone who you haven't seen in many years, often you have nothing in common with them anymore because you both changed. So I kind of just personally think people do change, but also there's pretty good evidence now that if people attempt to change themselves in various ways, they actually do end up changing even faster. So it's a combination of just like life observations and
yeah.
research.
I mean, I've always felt that unchecked, kind of your neuroticism will grow over time, and by the time you're like a cranky elderly person, will have pretty much swallowed you. Uh, Unchecked is my feeling about that. What do you think about that?
Most people get less neurotic with age.
Is that
Neuroticism
true?
goes down. Yeah, it's like a nice thing to look forward to. Yeah, you get more conscientious and less neurotic. It was funny because I did a story in the village, or I tried to do a story in the villages, Florida once, the retirement community. And everyone was like right on time to their interview, like brought their own notebook, brought their own pens, like sat at the exact appointed table. Like they were just so conscientious because old people just like get more detail oriented. I don't know. It's funny.
Neuroticism takes a certain amount of energy, and it is. I would say thing, things that I was neurotic about. I kind of just don't have the energy to care. Yeah, maybe I shouldn't eat this thing that I found somewhere. But what the hell? It's and I'm not less worried about it, but I'm less like I got to pick my battles here.
Sure.
All that. Do you think so another thing occurred to me that these do seem to me you touch on this, but I want to push deeper. These do seem to be um, the neuroticism, introversion, lack of openness to experience, etc. Do seem to be from my Gen X perch seem to be particularly millennial uh, issues. I knew fewer people in my generation who had who suffered from each of these, and not to the same degree.
Yeah. I mean, I don't. All I can say is like, there's not any evidence that I know of that it's generational. Like as far as like, in fact, I think that Gen X was the generation that voted the most for Trump this last time, and I mean,
Which of those five do you think that comes out of?
that's openness to experiences. High openness is associated with being a Democrat and
Yeah,
supporting liberal
okay,
causes. Low openness is associated with being conservative.
I
That
see.
is in the research, but and so I don't know. I mean, but the thing is, like, it's so strange now because like Trump and Doge, like these aren't like Reagan conservatives that like a lot of this research was based on. These aren't like very like traditional type people like Elon Musk. Like, he's not like what you think of when you think of a Republican. So I don't know.
It,
I'm not really sure how much that's applicable
it's
anymore.
not a vote for stability. If you
Yeah,
voted for Trump, whatever you think of it, it's not a vote for more of the same. Um,
true.
so my generation, however, and I feel this acutely in my I teased you before we started to see if you can guess what this is, but uh, in terms of wanting, well, first of all, I'm going to say, can you fix me? And what would you fix? And I'm putting out there that if there's some, from my perspective, if there's something about it that needs to be fixed in me, it's I would say a sixth trait that science has not taken into account that badly plagues my generation to the point of that can be crippling. And I think a lot of the issues that my generation have faced come back to this, and it certainly haunts and plagues my life. Can you guess what that is, Olga, as a
I
personality
really don't know because
scientist?
there's not really a fixed trait. I mean, there's honesty is a
There is.
trait that
No,
some researchers think like it should be its own trait, but I don't think that's what you're thinking of.
I'm not. So what I'm referring to is it, maybe it's not even my whole generation. Maybe it's a segment of my generation, but the need to be cool, I think, is overwhelming. Um, with, over to the point that the extent that I think that my people shape our entire lives around the need to be cool, rather our consciousness, our thoughts, our the idea that I would like something that was genuinely popular is like it fills me with like I guess it's like how an introvert would feel about like going to do improv as you did, and it's so horrifying, and like the idea that I would take a career route that wasn't cool, and it's it is a terrible crippling um, malady because I think it keeps us from uh, all kinds of experiences and important things. And you would also note that I'm not a young man anymore, and the obsession with being cool after a certain age becomes maybe a little silly to some, but and yet there it is. Speak to this for me, Olga?
That is
And
so interesting, and I honestly am not sure where to even categorize that or if that is you're right, it is like a sixth personality trait because that
I
doesn't
think
really
it
fit in with any of them. I think so, yeah, and it's interesting because like all the I've seen a lot of the Gen X movies, and they're so baffling to me because it'll be like some guy who has a great job and is really nice and has a car and an apartment, and then the girl picks the other guy who is like a loser with no job and like plays guitar all day, but he like doesn't like capitalism. So
yeah,
she's like, "That's the man for me," and I'm like, "What are you doing?" So
exactly.
yeah, there. I think there is something in Gen X where it's like their priorities are very strange.
Well, I mean, let's not
I
get carried away, Olga. I mean, being cool is, of course, the most important thing in the world, but it's not the only thing in the world as well.
well, I don't know what that is. I don't know if it's so like caring is like part of agreeableness, like caring about other people, caring about the world
Yeah,
and
and there's nothing in my day that the idea. Well, you could care, but you could never seem needy. Like the idea that I would want to, that I would care about what anybody thought of me, or that I would care about, like that I would want to have a relationship with somebody. Like that was just, you I mean, you can't do that.
I mean,
Anyway,
I feel like that is agreeableness. It's like because agreeable people really they care and they show it and they're like,
you know,
really they buy the Valentine's cards and like they are just not cool. Like they
yeah.
they want to be genuine and seen as like very earnest. And
I,
so that
I,
sounds
I,
like
I guess irony, which is the language of my generation, is the opposite of agreeableness. Because irony is about undermining and subverting the conversation and refusing to even participate in the conversation. And it is so deep in me that we're down a little rabbit hole here. But the idea of having an earnest conversation is so horrifying. Like I can't tell you. Anyway, let's get off this. We had a Trudy Lee Timber asked a question. Do you think change creates openness to write without crippling thoughts?
Oh, that's interesting. Well, I will say that like openness to experience is like associated with writing and being very verbal and just enjoying the process of creating written works. This is why most writers are liberal. Yeah, I mean, it's something that you know people who seek openness are often doing so because they want to be more creative. I will say though that people who are really not open to experiences tend to not want to do some of the stuff that makes you more open to experiences. And so it's kind of a self-perpetuating circle in that way.
So let's talk about some of the things you did in your book to overcome your bad personality. The You talk about taking on improv, which I must say, like I'm not a uh, I'm not an introvert in that way, but the idea of doing improv on stage is probably, more terrifying to me than, eating tarantulas or anything else. That's what my Fear Factor show would be like. They'd say like, okay, you're going to join an improv troupe, and you're starting out tonight. How did you tell us about that experience, and how scary that was, and how you made yourself do that?
So it was very scary. I would say so I did it for probably the better part of a year and it was scary for the first 4 or 5 months, if I'm being honest. Driving there, I was terrified. I was really just hoping that like class would be canceled or I'd get in a car accident or something. I really, even when I was there and she would call us up, time to even just the warm up games, zip zap zop, very simple. I was like, my heart was like beating in my chest, and I was like, please get me out of this. I really am not a performer in that way. And it was very intimidating to me. I also don't like being silly, and I don't think silliness is funny, which was a problem for
Yeah.
me. I think what ended up happening is that I would ultimately really enjoy my time. Like I was every single time class would end, I would find myself kind of like smiling or like chuckling to myself or like kind of thinking back fondly on something that happened. And for me, it was really because I think I was missing that open ended kind of like creative playtime in my life. Like everything was either drinks with friends or work, like work, TV, drinks with friends. And I didn't have a unstructured kind of like, I don't know, just open creative time to like let things happen. And I think I kind of needed that, and even though I was scared of it.
I did. So you in the book you find that you kind of kept going with it beyond the experiment, and stayed with it to higher levels and became friends with the person who read it. Um, is this still a part of your life? Is it something that you do, or still, or how
I so
did it
I
change you, and then you can move on past it? Or
So I would still love to do improv. I don't have time to do improv because something that happened since I started working on the book is I had a baby.
yes, we'll get to this
Yes.
also.
So I don't have time to do as many things as I want anymore, but I would like to get back to it. But I have tried to stay more extroverted in other ways, like just honestly like connecting with other moms and like going to play groups and things like that. But yeah, improv has sort of fallen off.
Do you find, or does it take the other end, like where you're sitting at the dinner table and conversation will slow a minute, and you'll just shout out like, name a job, name a kind of, and you just start wanting to go into improv at
You
any
start
moment.
quacking like a duck out of nowhere.
Yeah.
I don't do that, thankfully. But I will say it's made me a lot more comfortable with silence or just things not going totally according to plan or even just weird things happening or like that thing where you're both walking away from something and you say goodbye but you're walking in the same direction, like that kind of thing doesn't really phase me as much anymore. Whereas it used to like really just break my brain. So I don't know.
um, we have a question here also from Chris Gordon. said, actually, you touched upon being honest. How honest should we be in life? I would insert the. I just had my answer is not very, but we'll go on. Is there a limit? And I find I get into trouble at work when I'm honest, and right you do. How do you guys navigate this? Is there an honest meter that I should know about? A scale?
Oh, that's interesting. So, honesty is it's part of agreeableness, and in some cultures, it's its own trait because it's like more important to be honest in those cultures than to be like open to experiences or something like that. But I would say that it's a tricky one because if we were all completely honest all the time, we would just hurt everyone's feelings, right? Like,
You know.
if you actually told people what you thought of them in an unvarnished way, you wouldn't really have many friends.
Yes.
And so yeah, so life kind of does require a lot of like softening of the truth, or um, treading lightly and kind of being more tactful than is maybe totally honest. I don't know if that counts as dishonesty or not versus just like concern for other people's feelings. Like, we all have internal and external thoughts, but even your assessment of those those things are colored by your own perception. So in some ways, like, I don't really know if it's dishonest to just give a more positive view of whatever you think rather than like the most critical possible take you could have on it.
Well, I'll tell you, I went through a journey with the idea of rigorous and ruthless honesty with people wherever you find them, and this comes back, of course, to American Idol again, where Simon Cowell, when covering it, became an enormous phenomenon, for the biggest star in television, based on the idea that he was telling people the truth when that they wouldn't, and he was the one honest man in television. He would tell people, and people were just given so much flattery in life, and puffed up so much that that just having this person do the service and say, you are not meant to sing, you are not, you should not be here, that was that, not tell you that performance was okay, as Paul Abdul would do, but to just say that was terrible, that was all. And there is a point to judging, and there's a place for it. We should, certainly in work, we need to get that to get a feedback loop going. But I came to see the value of this ruthless honesty, that life, few people are going to go through life without anyone telling them that they're terrible, that life presents lots of that. And the fact is that in life, most people are most of you're going to actually, Simon Cowell is not the rare butterfly, that you're going to meet lots of Simon Cowells every day, who are going to be out there on the street to try to make you feel bad about yourself and make you feel like you can't do anything. So the value of that service, I came to see was not quite so important.
Yeah,
What do you
I
think?
agree. And I mean, honestly, if we think about like what we all like, if someone says Simon Cowell to you, the thing that jumps to your mind is not honest, but mean. Like, he's known for being the meanest judge, and I think that's something to consider when you're deciding to be like honest at all costs.
Yeah, although he was also, I think the mean judge was not quite accurate, because he would praise as vehemently as he would attack people. So um, I want to, if we can jump away to some of your work from the Atlantic. We can get back into this, but you if you don't mind, you wrote a piece about, you are a Russian immigrant. You came here when you were how old?
I was 3.
Three, as a result of which you speak Russian, and you wrote a piece about, the fascinating piece. You watched Russian state TV and found that what it was saying was actually, we wonder how close is Trump administration parroting Kremlin lines? Or what do you find watching Russian
Yeah, it was
TV in
really
your
remarkable.
native
So
tongue?
So they keep a really close eye on everything the Trump administration is doing. They even pay attention to like they were like debating whether like some undersecretary for the State Department would be good for them or bad for them or not. So these shows really like are laser focused on Trump and what he's doing. And they're really just like pleased as punch. Like they love the idea that they're trying to offload the responsibility of Ukraine onto Europe. They were kind of like urging Trump to, or I'm sorry, Elon Musk to unhook Starlink, which Ukraine relies on for its telecommunications. And that's something they've actually already threatened to do. I think like the lead of my piece was like that scene from The Office where Pam is like, corporate wants you to find the difference between these two pictures, and it's the same picture. Because honestly, a lot of the time they were just playing clips of Trump on Fox News or Newsmax and kind of like whooping and celebrating because that's exactly what they wanted.
Yeah. The so how do you as a Russian immigrant, as someone, how do you see the whole Trump era? Tell me your feelings about that.
Well, so much of it is it's interesting because it reminds me so much of the Russian Revolution, actually, and not in a good way. Like when you see things like words being erased from documents or Jackie Robinson's military service. Being deleted or like removed from some wall where his photo was on display. Like, this is the kind of thing that Stalin did. I'm not, like I try not to compare Trump to various world leaders, but that is in fact what Stalin did. And I do worry that we're headed toward a world where whatever the administration says happened is what actually happened, and the truth is sort of beside the point. So, I mean, to me, it's very concerning as someone who, like, whose family fled here from an authoritarian country to see these signs of authoritarianism creeping in.
How are your parents viewing it? What do they think about this? Is it
My
bringing back?
parents, my parents love Putin and watch Russian state TV 24/7. So they support whatever Trump does that helps Putin.
They okay, that's coming at it from a different angle.
Yes.
There, interesting. The so what is it like working at the Atlantic these days? And what you obviously you're this week you're right in the middle of, as we talked about at the beginning, this big scoop from your editor, Jeffrey. Are people all like, they're moving their money to Swiss bank accounts and buying property in Costa Rica, or they how are they being there in Washington dealing with all this? How are your
I mean,
colleagues?
it's interesting because like the immediate reaction from the big scoop was like, Jeff is this discredited, disgraceful journalist who peddles hoaxes, which, like, why was he in your chat? Like, why were you giving him war plans if you think that of him? But at the same time, like, the reason why Waltz had him in his Signal group is because like, they met at some point and were probably going to discuss international affairs at some point. So, I mean, it kind of just shows you that, like, I don't know, we're following the rules. We're just trying to be good journalists and do good journalism. And, whenever this administration steps in it, they kind of have a tendency to blame the messenger.
I mean, but is amongst your colleagues, is there? I mean, I feel like when you so okay to bring this together here, when we talk about the big five uh, uh, things, and you said this in your book, the big five traits: introversion, neuroticism, openness, experience. I think, as you said in your book, I think the journalists index highly in all those things. And why do you think that is? And how is this moment going to kind of, I mean, is it pushing your colleagues there who are right in the center of it, like, over the edge, or what's Talk to me about that a little.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely is a time when I feel my neuroticism rising, honestly. I feel like a lot of the actions of the administration are giving me a lot of unease and frustration, I would say. And so I do think that there are situational factors that can act on our personalities and obviously make us feel in certain ways. What I was really trying to do with my book is to um, kind of show how we can handle those stressors when they inevitably come up. Because politicians are just never going to do everything that we would like them to do. And you're just going to have things come up in your life that are unfortunate. And being able to handle those is a big part of being mentally healthy and ultimately leading a happy life no matter what happens.
What do you think it is about journalism that attracts neurotic introverts and all that? They're conscientious. I'll
I
say
think
that.
that there's like a certain, so it's like people who like to scour the world for like issues and problems, and that is like a neurotic trait.
Yeah.
And they also like to write and kind of be by themselves writing, and that is like a very introverted trait, element of
Well,
introversion.
that's a new thing because I mean, the definition and I mean, journalism used to require you pre-internet to leave your office and go out and encounter people directly. I mean, you really couldn't have been a highly introverted journalist back 40 years ago, I think.
That's true, but it was also a different kind of job. Like the idea of like a journalist being not college educated now, I think would just never happen. But I think like some of the old school journalists were like, I skipped college in order to go work directly for the New York Times, which like I don't think would ever happen anymore. So I mean, yeah, I think it's just like a type of I think all the women who are like cheerleaders and the guys who are football players like get jobs in sales and something where you have to be popular and outgoing and well liked. And then the journalists get or the introverts get jobs in journalism to the extent there still are any.
We're not easy people to be with, journalists. I will say it's the okay. I want to talk to. We have just a few minutes left, so if you've got questions out there or comments, please get them in now. But I want to address a article that you published uh, just a few hours ago, and about comedians who are the group of people I have a lot of experience with. I'm friends with a lot of comedians. I've known a lot for a long time, so I have some strong feelings about what you wrote. Uh, and you wrote about why do comedians stay married for a long time, and I think it's true that a lot of comedy marriages are very successful. Although I have a different reason for that than you. You wrote um, today. You said that comedians I spoke with said that the most important reason for the longevity of their marriages is their self-awareness and their ability to tune in into the emotional states of their partners, their audiences, and humans in general. The comedians I spoke with said the most important reason for the longevity of their marriages is their self-awareness and their ability to tune in to the emotional states of their partners. Oh, sorry, repeating it. I have known a lot of comedians, and I read that passage and considered contacting my lawyer to actually file a lawsuit with you about that. The comedians are very attuned to how other people are responding and thinking, but somehow the connection between that and their own behavior and their own response is like a bridge that has like been destroyed by a hurricane and like the land so barren that no connection can ever be built there again. I can see why they would say this, but I wonder. So, can I offer another reason why
Yeah, sure. What's
why
the reason?
yeah, I'm sorry to say. I think dating there's a very high barrier of entry to marrying a comedian, and that involves dating a comedian, which involves spending a lot of time with a person who has no ability to have human interaction and have human connection in any way. And you'll probably be doing word games. They will be in characters. They will be doing bits with you. They'll be trying out. But um, my experience with comedians is that the people who pass this bar are people that are really devoted to the success of the comedian and not the
Huh.
success of themselves, and that they can have a very happy marriage uh, based on making sure this person's happiness is always taken care of to the
Oh wow. Oh,
and
that's
not
interesting.
my
Okay.
own.
Okay. Okay.
That's my and I'd like to get on the phone with the people who said these things to you, that comedians have empathy, because
Well, you can call Jim Gaffigan and Bert Kreischer and Tom Papa.
Jim Gaffigan, I don't know. I don't know Jim Gaffigan personally. He seems like he might be more empathetic than the typical one. He's also a little bit older and everything, so what do you say to my retort?
That's interesting. I will say that the ones that I talked to, which were those three, really had a close working relationship with their spouse. So their spouse was like their wives were writing material for them, helping
They're
produce their
managers,
specials. Yeah, they were like they were really, the wives were putting in a lot of work, writing jokes for them,
putting
helping
a lot of work
workshop
on
jokes.
their careers, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And not on
Um,
not on their own comedy careers.
That, I mean, that's true. Like none of the wives are as famous as the comedian in question.
I'd like to offer this, and if you'd let Mr. Goldberg know, I have requested to file a retort to your piece there, which is otherwise excellent, and as all your pieces are. How just to close up here before we go, how did you get into this niche in Atlantic of kind of exploring sort of personality issues and kind of intimate topics of human nature while
Oh,
everybody's running?
human behavior. I don't know. I think I just like I those who don't like. I think I like it's like write what you know, but for me, it's more like write what you don't know, which is like I'm so puzzled so often by the things that people do. And I sort of was like, maybe I should investigate this, and then I just got really into it. And I don't know. I built kind of this little niche for myself, I guess.
Yeah. So to close off here. One question. So how much? Tell us that as we look at you today. How long has it been since you turned in the first draft of your book? A year or so, say? Or?
It's been like probably a good, honestly, like almost 2 years, like a year and 9 months.
So 2 years later, looking back on it and having had a child and all that, how much of the personality changes have stuck, and how much have you backslid at this point into your terrible personality from before?
I would say agreeableness has gone up because having a child makes you very agreeable. You always want to be cuddly and empathetic with them. Extroversion has also gone up because you really have to get out there and connect with other new parents, otherwise you'll go nuts. And you also need someone to ask like whether the poop color is normal. Um, and neuroticism, it's interesting. I also feel like I don't have time to be as neurotic about all the things that I used to be. Like there was something like they just pick like the best American science writing, and I'm not in it. And but
Oh,
I know
no.
people who are in it, and they're like, I'm so humbled and honored to be in the best American science writing, and that used to drive me insane, like for days and days and days. And now I was just like, oh, that's annoying. And then my kid did something, and I had to immediately address it, and also clean up milk and like get new milk and do a bunch of other stuff. And I was like, I honestly forgot about it until just now.
it is a fantastic, like, constant distraction from all the things that
Yes.
all the terrible thoughts that would why wasn't I on this podcast? She's on this podcast. What the I
Yeah.
how come they never asked me to be? Um, it is amazing, and how much you're at a sort of elemental level. Uh,
Yes.
the it it's it, Anyway. Uh, Thank you so much, Olga. I am very happy for your success. As I've seen your whole journey, and it's amazing all you've done. Your book is amazing.
Thank
Me,
you.
but better.
I have to
Everyone,
plug it wherever books are
as
sold.
well. Yeah, I plug it too. Everyone should buy it and read it. It's fascinating and funny and fun. And I want to thank you for joining us, and thank all our lunch friends here for joining another episode of Rushfield Lunch. We will be off next week. There will be no Rushfield Lunch this week unless somehow I'm going to be at CinemaCon in Las Vegas. I'm seeing the convention of the movie industry and seeing many trailers. So pray for me there. Last time I was pretty much every time I was at it's in Caesar's Palace, and I go in on Monday morning, and when I leave on Friday, I realize this is the first time I've breathed unfiltered air in 5 days. So that's what I have. I have 5 days of casino, uh, heavily oxygenated air ahead of me. So be thinking of me. I will be back then in 2 weeks uh, with another very special, not as special as Olga, a slightly less special, but still very special guest joining us. So thanks a lot, Olga. Thanks everybody for being here.
Thanks, everyone.